libertyrevolt.com.
Hey, Larry Elder here. Thank you for listening to the Bucky Dillon Show, hosted by the Liberty Revolt and KHNC.
What's up, guys? Good morning. Thanks for hanging out with me. My name is Bucky Dillon. This is the Bucky Dillon Morning Show, a Liberty Revolt Media production. www.libertyrevoltmedia.com. Catch the live stream, facebook.com/Liberty Revolt Media, youtube.com/Liberty Revolt Media. And of course, this show is hosted by 1360 AM KHNC, the Roar of the Rockies. You guys can check out the radio broadcast from anywhere in the world by going to 1360khnc.com. And you can listen to all of my past episodes on the podcast page. They're on it. You can see some of my article content on the blog page, or you could find my my second hour episodes on Spotify, Omnivideo, and Apple Podcasts. Essentially, wherever podcasts can be found, guys. I'm all over the place, and it is such a pleasure and an honor to be here with you again on this day, which, by the way, today is April 14th, and I just want to say, on this day in history, this was the day that Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. Well, this was the day that he was shot in the head. He dies the day later, right? This was the day that the Titanic hit the iceberg. This was the day that the first space shuttle, Columbia 1, returned to Earth. And on this day in 2003, the Human Genome Project is completed with 99% of the human genome sequenced to an accuracy of 99.99%. So these are just a couple interesting things. The weather is going to be pretty mild today. It's going to continue being cloudy throughout the course of the day, and then later today around 5 o'clock it's going to shower a little bit, and then as we move into the evening, those showers are going to turn to snows. But without further ado, I would like to introduce y'all to my friend Hugo. Hugo is the chairman, I believe, of the Hispanic Republicans right here in Colorado. And some people may hear Hispanic Republicans and go, what? Wait, what do you mean Hispanic Republicans? What is that? Right? I thought Republicans were all angry, white, racist, sexist, bigoted warmongers who hated the poor, right? Hugo, how you doing today, man?
Doing great. You described it pretty well. I mean, that's the general feeling out there with some folks. But what I find is when we get down to just having an honest discussion, we find that we're pretty much in agreement with a lot of the policy issues and conservative leanings of the Republican Party. I've always said, and I think I mentioned to you before, I'm a former Democrat prior to Ronald Reagan, and it takes some growing up when you're young. You know, there's an old saying that if you're 20 and you're not a liberal, you have no heart, and when you're 40 and you're not a conservative, you have no brain. That's
yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, so that's kind of the mentality that got me to listen to a person like Ronald Reagan. And I think you asked me earlier why Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump were so successful and how they were able to do things that other Republicans were not. And I think it had to do with the ability to reach people at their core. They talk to people like regular people, you know. Donald Trump was about the forgotten man, and Ronald Reagan, you know, having been, of course, an actor all his life, had the ability to communicate and connect with people. And I mean, all you have to do is look at his two races and see that he won them pretty much both by a landslide, but the second one was huge. It was because he was able to connect with people, and people trusted him that what he was saying was what he was going to do.
Right, and that's an interesting point you brought up about the effective communication. You know, I was saying right before we came into the second hour that I believe conservatives and libertarians are most effective when they're laughing, when they're making jokes and having a good time. Because I think it's true. I think when politicians resonate with people, typically it's not because of the information they're espousing. Typically it's because of the feelings that it fosters inside of you. And I think that's why politicians focus on speaking in moral terms and focus on trying to bring out some emotional reaction out of people. And, you know, of course, people are more susceptible to negative emotion than positive emotion, just as a psychological phenomenon. But we are also susceptible to positive emotions. And I think that Donald Trump and Reagan really capitalized that. Reagan was a very common sense guy, and he was very funny. He always had jokes, and I think that really worked out in his favor, because it's hard to dislike someone who's making you laugh. And this, you know, I think about the Republican primaries. What is the one thing we all remember from the 2016 primaries? Can you name Ted Cruz's tax plan? Do you remember any of that? No. All people remember is only Rosie O'Donnell. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's that emotional reaction is what sticks with people. And when I think about Trump, I think about that warm feeling that I got when he'd come out and he'd give the flag a hug, as corny as it was, or he'd go and stand in front of the UN and say, "America will never surrender our freedoms to foreign bureaucrats. Little Rocket Man's on a suicide mission." And guys, you're listening to the Bucky Dillon Show.
If you love wealth better than liberty, the tranquility of servitude better than the animated contest of freedom, go home from us in peace. We ask not your counsel nor your arms. Crouch down and lick the hands which feed you. May your chains be set lightly upon you, and may posterity forget that you were ever our countrymen. Samuel Adams.
This is Sam Shook, Navy vet and Medicare specialist. I just want to thank the KHNC listeners for their support and trust in me as their Medicare specialist. If you are currently on Plan F, we are in a window of opportunity that can save you a lot of money towards your monthly premium. Please contact me at 970-413-4939. If you are getting into Medicare soon or are already enrolled and have questions, please call me at 970-413-4939. Again, thanks, KHNC listeners.
Have you always wanted to be on the radio? Do you have strong opinions or ideas that you think should be heard? Why not host your own radio show right here on the Roar of the Rockies? You'll be on the same station as Brian Kilmeade, Michael Savage, and Alex Jones. You can brand yourself as an expert in your industry and grow your business. Imagine telling your potential clients you have your own radio show. That gives you instant credibility. For more information, call us at 970-587-5003. 1360 KHNC is proud to announce our partnership with My Kind CBD, a local Colorado-based company that uses no pesticides, no herbicides, completely organic, no heavy metals. All their products are CAO certified. That's right, independently lab certified. Our prices are the best in the country. Go out to 1360khnc.com and hit the shopping cart button and make your purchase today.
欢迎收听 KHNC 广播电台 Bucky Dillon 早安秀，大家的早安广播，谢谢。
So Hugo, you were a Democrat, and you walked away from the Democratic Party after hearing a speech from Reagan, and then the very next day you went out and started volunteering for his campaign.
Correct. That's the story, and I'm sticking to it.
So
yeah, I was inspired by what I heard, and of course, at that time, I had already seen what Carter had done to the country. So, the thing that you were mentioning earlier about heartstrings and emotion and that kind of thing, Jimmy Carter's campaign was all about that, and I think that's what got to me back in '76. Was I was still in that mindset, and we had just come off of the Nixon debacle, and followed by Ford, and the country was ripe for that type of campaign. I still remember some of the commercials. They were all about lilies in the field and heartstring tugging type ads, and that was his winning strategy, and it worked. But then when he got into office, people saw what kind of policies he had. The guy is a nice man, but he was a horrible president. He's a good Christian man, I believe that, but just what he did to the country was just outrageous. I mean, he decimated our military. I mean, the Iranians knew that, and that's why they took all those hostages. I guarantee you, if Reagan had been president at the time, the Iranians would not have dared done that. And so that's the kind of I think the differences between the two parties now is that for some reason America First is a dirty term. It's almost, well, to them it's racist. America First is what they call a dog whistle for a white supremacist.
Right.
It's ridiculous, but that's the kind of mentality that people
right. That's like saying that's like saying, well, Hitler had a German Shepherd, therefore Biden is a Nazi. Right? It's like it just doesn't make any sense. Just because correlation does not mean causation, or I guess just because some bad people think an idea is good, agree with you on some policy, means that you agree with their other opinions that are horrendous.
Exactly.
And it's interesting because the United States is not a racist country, and I think it really comes down to the fact that because we have been the world's exporter of culture for so long, that is the United States' largest export by far. It's our culture, it's our movies, it's our music, it's our art, it's our cultural trends. People all around the world listen to American music. People all around the world watch the Marvel movies, right? They're not watching Korean movies. Maybe I mean there's a little bit. Korean movies and K-pop, I guess, has a little bit of traction, but it's nothing compared to the music and movies and trends that come out of the US. And so because of that, we have a very inwardly focused society. You ask a Democrat, what is the biggest threat to world homogeneity? They're going to say Republicans. And if you ask Republicans, they're going to say Democrats. If you ask the Chinese, they're going to say Western powers, right? They're not going to say, oh, it's the nationalist Chinese or it's the communist Chinese. They're going to say it's the West. And so, you know, that is kind of a unifying message for them. We wonder why they could be so unified behind such a government as theirs. And well, you know, for one, the foreign investments that have poured into that country since they opened up to capitalism has been incredible. Americans tend to overlook the fact that China this is not something new for them. China is more liberal now than it has ever been in human history. They've never had democracy. They've never had human rights. They've never had a Second Amendment, right? They've never had a First Amendment. And so, you know, they look at their government and they think, wow, we've come a long way as far as liberalizing and opening up to the world. And they don't see it the same way as we do in the West, where our culture is rebellion against authority, for better or worse. And, you know, that presents its own set of problems, but it is what it is. Yeah, we're so focused on ourselves that I think that we spend far too much time unfairly beating ourselves up. And when we could look around the world and say, well, wait a second, the runners up to global dominance are countries like China, Russia, Saudi Arabia. And, you know, perhaps for all of our moral failings, perhaps it's a good thing that we put America first and we maintain our economic and military leadership role in the world, because the alternative, well, that's not going to be great for those so-called progressive values. If you're aiming to tug on heartstrings, don't put China in charge of the planet.
Well, I mean, that's a fact. I mean, I've known and I've met some Chinese immigrants, and some of the stuff they tell me, you've never heard on CNN or any other U.S. network. We don't get what's really going on over there. If we did, I think even liberals would be aghast at what they think is a country that's worth aspiring to. I mean, we have a population now that I think is rife with, for lack of a better term, gullible people. Okay, and that's not to demean anybody, but it's true. We have lazy people who use sound bites they hear on the 6 o'clock news from CNN and other liberal sources, and they take it as gospel. And whenever I have a chance to have a discussion or even a debate with someone from the left, I can tell within 2 minutes if they're really informed or if they're just regurgitating sound bites that they hear from the sources that they've subscribed to. So it's one thing to have a difference of philosophy. It's another to just be a lemming, I guess, if you will, where you just follow blindly the things that you hear. Well, the Republicans are racist. They are anti-immigrant, this, and that. And it's baloney. And if that was the case, tell me why, 36 or 38 of the 50 states have Republican legislatures? And why is it that conservative ideals, when put forth properly, like Rush used to say, win the debate? And that's because most people, if you really get down to the core, are level-minded. The problem is that middle America, as we call it, the flyover country, is basically ignored. We're run by the the two coasts, the left coast and the right coast over there on the East Coast. But in between, most people are conservative, and in their lives and in their values and in the way that they would like to see the country run. But we have this power control, by the left, and of course, we all know the media is 95% left. So how is that a balanced message that the population gets to hear? The young people, that's what they're drawn to, and that's what they hear, and that's what they learn. And that, don't even get me started on the colleges and universities, which are now nothing more than indoctrination factories. Academia is controlled by the left as well. So they have the major outlets in their grasp, and it's easy for them to put forth their ideology and their messaging without any real opposition.
Right. Kathy says brainwashed people easier to believe what they are fed rather than find facts for themselves. Yeah. Right. And it's unfortunate because I think so much of our current predicament, in the first hour, we started talking about why it's so difficult for people to just have conversations with each other. Like, why can't we just talk about it? Right. And I think so much of this actually does stem from our electoral process. I've been a single issue voter for a long time, although this single issue has never been on my ballot, of voter reform and of course establishing voter integrity, because it doesn't matter what your electoral process is if it's susceptible to fraud. And we do need to have those guardrails in place. And is that going to make it less convenient to vote? Yeah. Do I believe that's voter suppression? No. But so much of this really does stem from the two-party system, and I think establishing some form of ranked choice voting, as well as a multi-party system. And maybe I even like Andrew Yang's idea about democracy dollars, or about just making it easier for people to support political campaigns. But so much of our media, they don't report the truth, even though they say they do. They're not objective, and they don't give you a realistic perspective of reality, because it's not in their business model. That doesn't make them money. They make money by selling ads. And how do they sell ads? Well, they try to get as many eyes looking at it as possible. Well, you're not going to get an astounding amount of eyes and emotional reaction out of people by showing them what's normal, what's predictable, what's nice, right? You get eyes and you get attention by showing people the phenomenal, by showing people the anomalies, by showing people the mirror image of what they see every day in the real world, the shocking, the outrageous, and by trying to get people aggravated and desperate, and they don't even want to be on the winning side necessarily. In fact, it's better for their business to be on the losing side, because people are more susceptible to outrage when they feel like they're losing. So counterintuitively, they can feed this beast, and this beast is hungrier when it's mad, and it's angrier when it's losing. So I don't even think even most conservative media even wants to win an election. It's a really difficult position we find ourselves in, where what we're seeing in the media is almost the polar opposite of reality.
Yeah, well, I mean, to your point about the two-party system, I can tell you, from coming from a country where they have what you call a multi-party system. My native country of Peru just had their elections this past weekend. there were 14 parties involved. Okay, and it has been and always has been a disaster, in my opinion, because first of all, you never come up with a winner on the first round. So imagine, if you will,
guys, you're listening
here
to
in
the
America,
Bucky Dillon show right here. Well, we finish this after the break.
Be careful when you're dealing with a conspiracy theorist. You may end up with a whole lot more truth than you're used to handling. This has been a public service announcement from KHNC.
Did the insurance company divorce your mountain house? Then call Affordable Tree Service North at 970-568-6898. We have over 50 years combined experience in fire mitigation. Let us climb, cut, trim, haul your worries away. We know brokers who specialize in mountain property, and we don't hire no snowflakes. Oh, God, go ahead, Mickey. Hey, you're not in this commercial. Again, call Affordable Tree Service at 970-568-6898. That's 568-6898.
You ever wake up and feel like there should be someone to run your errands? We want to get things done, but just don't have enough time. Many of us hire concierge services like dog walkers or food and grocery delivery. Why should your insurance needs be any different? At Badger Insurance Advisors, we act as your concierge for all things insurance, pairing quotes and prices, and recommending the best insurance for your needs. Call or text us today at 303-359-1799 or check us out at badgerinsuranceadvisors.com.
Hi, this is Mike Morris, owner of Warriors Revolution Tactical in Longmont. At Warriors Revolution, we have the largest selection of tactical gear and ammo in northern Colorado. But what many people may not know is that we now sell firearms. And even despite the recent run on firearms and ammunition, we have plenty of product in the store, including ARs, AKs, Glocks, SIGs, HK, and more. And don't forget all the bulk ammunition at the best prices in town. Need to do a private firearms transfer? We can do that too. I am a veteran of the United States Marine Corps, and our team is made up of veterans and security experts, not a bunch of salesmen. Our team is trained and fought with much of the actual equipment we sell. And one thing you should know is that we support the foundations and principles this great country was founded upon. So if you need tactical gear, ammo, firearms, AR parts or upgrades, and even survival accessories, stop by and visit us on Ken Pratt Boulevard and Bowen Street in Longmont, or visit warriorsrevolution.com. That's warriorsrevolution.com.
The Federal Reserve is in control of our money, but lately control is the last word you would use to describe the Fed. Emergency rate cuts, huge increases in their balance sheet, the constant blowing of bubbles and boom and bust cycles that just leave most of us busted. I'm Joe Jaquin, owner of the Patriot Trading Group, and we have been protecting people's wealth for almost 25 years. Stop playing the Fed's game and get your wealth protected. Call us at 800-951-0592 or visit our website at allamericangold.com.
I told you so.
We here at KHNC are looking for new conspiracy theories because all the old ones have become fact. This has been a public service announcement from KHNC.
Great minds think alike. Thank you for listening to the Bucky Dillon Show, hosted by the Liberty Revolt. Join me, Larry Elder, today at 5 on 1360 KHNC. Now back to Bucky Dillon.
So you started talking about some of the failures of multi-party systems, and I'm very interested. So what do you got?
Well, I mean, Peru is the one I can talk about because that's where I'm from, and I go down there at least once a year, and I know about what they've been going through, and like a lot of South American countries have leaned, to the left, and there's a very high uneducated population down there, so they're easily manipulated, just like here with the promises of goodies and freebies and that kind of thing.
Well, it seems to me that some of our most educated are the most manipulated here in the U.S.
Well, yeah, I mean, from a perspective of being diabolical, the educated here are the ones that are driving the narrative in doing that. But I'm talking about from a voting perspective. The voter out there, if you look at the different demographics, socioeconomic status, you find, that the most manipulated are the poor. And unfortunately, they're also the least educated. And that's one of the, I think, tenets of what I now call the socialist Marxist Democratic Party. It's not anymore. This Democratic Party is not the party of even myself or grandparents or parents. I always say if Kennedy were alive today, he'd probably be a Republican, because Kennedy was a pretty conservative guy. He was a military guy, pro-America, and he just would not recognize his party today. So the thing that I'm talking about, the multi-party, when you have 14 parties running in an election, it's nearly impossible to come up with a winner in one ballot.
Now,
So
is
then you end
that
up
with the utilization of ranked choice voting?
Ranked choice voting, I'm not sure I'm totally understanding, and I've tried to understand that process, but I've talked to people about it. I'm not sure that that's the solution either, because then what you're talking about is still a multiple ballot, because you can't come up with a clear winner, 50% plus one, when you have 10 or 15 candidates. I mean,
Well, see,
it's
what
almost
happens
impossible.
are two-party systems are necessarily winner take all, as in whoever gets the most votes wins. And this may seem reasonable on its face, but if you dig a little deeper, I mean, shouldn't we hope that our politicians, regardless of party, would try to appeal to the middle ground of where their constituency stands, or at least try to represent the broadest possible constituency, instead of just like the slim majority or even the minority base that got them elected? A presidential candidate today may only win 29% of the popular vote, but could still win. And I'm not saying we should switch to a popular vote system, because I do believe that the Electoral College is incredibly important. But this leaves
without the
smaller
Electoral
parties
College,
with
we'd
this
be
leaves
a third world country. I mean,
right. I don't think the
because,
urban areas really understand the consequences of their vote. They don't know where their food, their energy, or any of the things they take for granted comes from. But ranked choice voting, I mean, allows you to finally like swear your allegiance to the anti-HOA party without worrying that you'd be better off using your ballot as TP, right? Ranked choice voting would allow you to pick one party as your first choice, and then another party as your second choice, and say the conservatives as your third, and whatever virtue signaling corporate cutout that happens to be representing the liberals as your last choice. And essentially what would happen is, if your first choice didn't garnish enough support, they would be nixed, and then your second vote would apply. And if eventually it'll come down to which party got the at least 51% of the vote, because as only the top two would count, and the smaller parties would disappear, and the votes would be rearranged until it came down to whichever party, be it the Green Party or the Libertarian Party or the Patriot Party or the Constitution Party, whichever party ended up with actually.
Right, but how many ballots would that take? That's the question.
Oh, it would only be one ballot. It would take a little math on the behest of the ballot counters, and as I say that, I lose a little bit of morale.
Yeah. Who's counting the ballots?
Right. I guess it doesn't matter who votes. It matters who counts the votes.
Yeah.
The famous
yeah,
saying.
it's a tough one. I mean, I'm still a believer in the two-party system, in the sense that, I mean, and I realize that there are multiple parties. I mean, we had how many presidential candidates on the last ballot, but I'm talking about viable parties, because, you know, although libertarians and Republicans share probably 70% of the values and issues on some of the issues, it's that 30% that's a non-starter for me. For example, you know, libertarians are lean towards being pro-choice, open borders,
Right.
and those two things right there for me are non-starters. You know, so I would never be able to vote for a party that had those kind of positions.
Yeah, and that's
but
why
yet-
I call myself a conservatarian, but I will not commit to the Libertarian Party for those very reasons. I actually think there is I don't believe in entirely free trade, because we do have to. There are key industries that we need to be self-sufficient in. We can't be relying on China for our PPE during a pandemic, right? We can't be dependent on countries that hate us, like Russia and Saudi Arabia, for our oil, right? And there's just a lot of things like this where I feel like free trade is great, but as a matter of national security, we actually do need to be self-sufficient in certain areas. And I do think that we have a legitimate role in trying to inculcate good values in our society, whether that's through abortion regulation, drug regulations, and even being tough on countries who don't share our values. And I know that sounds tough, but I mean, we have to take a stand, in my opinion. So you're listening to the Bucky Dillon Show right here on 1360 KHNC.
It is not because men have made laws that life, liberty, and property exist. On the contrary, it is because life, liberty, and property existed beforehand that men made laws in the first place. What then is law? It is the collective organization of the individual right to lawful defense and punishing injustice. Frederick Bastiat, The Law.
Hi, folks. I'm James Morgan, a realtor with Grisham & Associates, LLC. I know it must seem like there's a million realtors out there making all kinds of promises. Want to hear my big marketing promise? I promise honest and fair dealings with all those I do business with. That may sound old-fashioned, and it is not very catchy, but it is true. I am your Colorado real estate specialist. Farm, land, mountain cabins, or urban dwellings. When you work with my team, we'll get the right property for you and be upfront and honest with you every step of the way. Over the years, my clients have told me just that fact alone separates us from others in the industry. If you are considering buying or selling real estate, call me, James Morgan, at 720-203-0731 or visit my website at coloradoproperties.online. No catchy slogan, just a client-first, honest real estate experience. Hit it, girls.
Keep listening to the American Freedom Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Shelley Place with today's tip for kids from the American Academy of Pediatrics. Children can die from heat stroke after being mistakenly left in a car. This sometimes happens when there's a change in routine. Make it a habit to put your phone or bag in the back seat next to your baby. Ask your caregiver to always call if your child doesn't arrive as expected, and lock your car when it's parked. If you see a child alone in a car, call 911. For more on child safety, talk with your pediatrician or visit healthychildren.org.
Great minds think alike. Thank you for listening to the Bucky Dillon Show, hosted by the Liberty Revolt. Join me, Larry Elder, today at 5 on 1360 KHNC. Now back to Bucky Dillon.
So Hugo is an advocate for the two-party system. Hugo, defend yourself.
Well, I just I like order. I don't like chaos. That would be my defense on that. I will say I'm not closed-minded. I'd have to be convinced that there is a better solution, but right now, based on what I've seen, I don't see it.
So you've been chairman of the Hispanic Republican Party for how many years?
Going on 8 years now.
And you've been an activist for how long?
7 years, actually. I've been an activist in this party since 1980, so I'm in my 41st year. And I've been consistently, involved. I've held numerous positions in the party in Texas, and then up here in Colorado. Been to 3 national conventions, multiple state, county assemblies, and served in various different positions within the party. Currently, I'm a PCP in my area. Also, now a voting bonus member of the Colorado Republican Central Committee. So I have a vote this time around. It's been about 6 years since I had that, but I was able to vote in the new leadership, and our organization held a forum for the state party chair and vice chair candidates back on March 18th. The forum is on the video. We have a video of the forum on our website for anybody that's interested in seeing that. That's at Colorado HispanicRepublicans.org. But we've always been involved, and we want to make sure that we promote Republican values because that's what we believe in.
So what are Republican values?
Republican values are basically, in our opinion, faith, family, and freedom. That's our slogan. Hispanics, as a rule, are people of faith. They are strong family oriented, and they believe in freedom and opportunity. If you talk to most immigrants that come here, the first thing they tell you why they came here was for opportunity, for a better opportunity because they didn't have it in their native country, and that's always been the magnet here. People want to run down America as being racist or anti-immigrant or this or that, but I've never seen people looking to exit America. Everybody all over the world wants to come to America, and so you have to ask yourself why. Why is that? Why do people want to come here? And usually it's freedom and opportunity.
Are they risking their lives and putting themselves at the mercy of cartel human smugglers or whoever, just the at the mercy of the elements out there and crossing the desert so that they can come here and be oppressed?
Yeah, well, those are the ones those are the what I would call the outliers. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of people that get sucked in with the cartels and the coyotes, and they pay outrageous fees to get across the border. But the dirty little secret behind all of that, most of that is nothing more than human trafficking, and that's the dirty little phrase that people don't want to talk about. Human trafficking is a huge problem, and it's bad because those people think that they're paying for an entrance to the U.S., but when in fact they're being trafficked, and when they get in here, a lot of them end up as basically indentured servants, children are being trafficked. The Democrats are good about calling out Republicans for separating children from their families. But you know what? Those children, most of them, are being sent by their families or coerced to be sent from their home countries by very nefarious characters that have nothing but bad intentions for those kids.
Right. And I could do an entire episode on the border and border immigration issues, because that is something that is very passionate to me, because the truth is our border patrol agents are routinely finding the same children being recycled back and forth across the border. They're finding young women being forced into essentially involuntary prostitution to pay off their cartel dues. Children are being kidnapped as a free ticket into the United States, and it is child exploitation is part of the business for the cartels that have operational control of the southern side of our border. Part of the reason we have to separate children is because we can't just take it at face value that everything is on the up and up and these children are in safe hands. And the reason the conditions are so bad is because Democrats refuse to fund these, what are intended to be daycare facilities, where we can properly take care of children who come unaccompanied or accompanied by adults who may or may not be their parents. And they refuse to fund them because they can make political hay by pointing to them and saying, look at how terrible Republicans are.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, both parties have done it, and the thing about the issue itself is it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, the heartstring tugging mentality of Democrats that basically fool people into believing things that aren't true.
Right.
They're not paying attention to what's really going on. They say, "Oh, well, look at Republicans. They don't want to let these refugees in." And
final segment coming up, guys. Thanks for hanging out to the Bucky Dillon Show.
This is Sam Shook, Navy vet and Medicare specialist. I just want to thank the KHNC listeners for their support and trust in me as their Medicare specialist. If you are currently on Plan F, we are in a window of opportunity that can save you a lot of money towards your monthly premium. Please contact me at 970-413-4939. If you are getting into Medicare soon or are already enrolled and have questions, please call me at 970-413-4939. Again, thanks KHNC listeners.
Reasons to Own Gold. Brought to you by the Patriot Trading Group at allamericangold.com. Reason number 647.
Most people don't even know that the courts have already ruled. Once money is deposited into the bank owns the money, and the depositor is merely an unsecured creditor of the bank, which means if the bank goes under, you get paid last. After the financial crisis, instead of breaking up too big to fail, the government and the Federal Reserve created Dodd-Frank and made too big to fail banks even bigger while putting your deposits more at risk. I'm Joe Jaquint, CEO of the Patriot Trading Group. To learn more, visit us at allamericangold.com or call us at 800-951-0592.
Did the fire marshal take one look down your driveway and say, my guys aren't going down there? Or are there parts of it that just need a little more sun? Then call Affordable Tree at 970-568-6898. We can climb, cut, or trim your problems away, specializing in defensive space, upper and lower fire mitigation, forest health, plus we can save freshly hit beetle trees. So call us at 568-6898. That's 568-6898.
All of the music for the Bucky Dillon Morning Show was provided by my band, Beer for Bears. Find us on social media by looking for Beer for Bears. Guys, this is the final segment. Hugo, I really want to thank you for coming on the show. I'd love to have you on again.
Yeah, I'd like to come on again and maybe make it a regular thing. We're trying to put our message out, and we need the support of conservatives that know and understand the importance of attracting the Hispanic vote, the fastest growing demographic in the country. It's a fact. By the year 2032, Hispanics will represent nearly a third or more of the electorate. And without that vote,
No party wins.
Conservatives and or Republicans cannot win elections.
Right. And I'm excited that you may start becoming involved with my newsletter, which I'm going to be showing our audience on the live stream. I'm holding the newsletter up to the camera right now so people can see it. But it's a legitimate magazine. We have it printed. I will have 150 copies in my hand by the end of the day, and I will begin the distribution process all around northern Colorado. Guys, if you're listening to the radio broadcast or listening on the website 1360khnc.com or following us on the live stream, let me know if you're interested in getting your hands on one of the magazines. They will be down here at the radio station right next to the donation box. They do cost money to print, so we hope that you guys do make a donation to make this economically sustainable for us to pursue. But we are going to be breaking into northern Colorado and trying to break the left's domination of media, not because we want to live in a right-wing country, but because we think that people need to hear both sides of the story if they're going to make an informed opinion. And if we lose and people know what we're about, fair enough. But if we lose because no one has ever heard of us, that's our fault. So it's time for Republicans and conservatives and libertarians to stand behind their words and actually take personal responsibility for their community. And I am going to be fighting as hard as I can to do just that. Hugo, thank you for so much that you are doing to try to strengthen this freedom movement. I sure do appreciate you, man.
Yeah, thank you. We just encourage the listeners to go to our website and if they're inclined to donate and help us in our cause, because it is the Republican cause.
What is the website?
ColoradoHispanicRepublicans.org.
ColoradoHispanicRepublicans.org. ColoradoHispanicRepublicans.org. Fastest growing demographic in the country. If we fail to reach them, we'll be living in a one-party state but at the end of a generation if we fail to take the needs of this community seriously.
Yeah, you may be part of Wyoming.
Yeah, we actually did have Todd Richards come. He's the guy leading the Weld County, Wyoming effort. He's an interesting guy, but we actually did have him come down to the station, and I hope you check out one of our Friday night events coming up.
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna plan on doing that and bringing some of our board members with me.
That'd be fantastic, man. And get all of these board members and yourself again scheduled on the show, because I would absolutely love to communicate with you guys and be around. Hugo, thanks for hanging out.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Have a good day. Have a great day, Northern Colorado and listeners worldwide tuning into the radio broadcast 1360 KHNC.com. Hit the shop button, get yourself some CBD products.
Hey man, pass the bottle over and take a couple of hits off the My Kind CBD. Get your CBD by going to 1360khnc.com and click on the